Day one of prep. Started with the leg day. Quick little posing routine before we get into this. Show you what exercises I did today. First exercise, seated hamstring curls. Did these with my feet parallel. Didn't turn my toes in or out. You see I'm pushing through the hand rest there to make sure I keep my hips down. And now grabbing those hamstrings for activation. You see my hips slid up as I took my hands off. And then we got into this variation of the straight leg, single leg deadlift. Doing this, the video sped up, so it does look like I'm moving a little bit faster than I actually am. Really just keeping all the activation in my hamstring and right up to the glute, then right back to the ground with the bar. And I don't actually do this exercise very often, but it is a cable pull through, straight leg. I have my heels up on just a little 10-pound plate just to allow more activation in my hamstrings from the start. But you see I'm reaching down and then just squeezing my glutes on the way up, keeping my core tight as well so I don't activate too much lower back. And here's one of the go-to movements, the lying hamstring curl. Doing these double leg here. Again, video sped up, so it does look like I'm moving a little bit faster, but really focusing on the contraction, stretch at the bottom. See here, I do a drop set, drop it down, and then I'm gonna do two double leg up and a single leg back down to really activate those hammies. So I also supersetted this seated calf raise with those lying hamstring curls just to do something in the rest time. You see here, focusing more on the outer portion of these calves because that is the weak point on my lower leg. And then we went over to the kneeling or standing hamstring curl here. This was one of my last sets on this, and my hammies were fried at this point, but still got to get them in. Focusing on the squeeze, keeping my toes parallel today. A lot of times I do toes out, but again, focus on some of the weaker points through each week. All right, and we went right over to the seated abductor machine. You see here I'm doing about 12 sitting back, and then I'll do another 12 leaning forward, really trying to target some of those smaller areas in the glutes and hip flexors as I do this movement. All right, and so it was a hamstring and glute day, but I'm trying to get these quads to grow, so we did a couple burnout sets of these as well before heading out and going downstairs doing a couple other things. But you see here, I'm just doing these alternated, trying to keep my toes pretty much parallel. I do a little twist at the end and squeeze just to target a little bit smaller areas on those quads. And what you'll see here is that I'm actually sitting back pretty far on the seat rather than sitting up over my hips a little bit. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm allowing a little bit higher up on my quad to activate and some of that hip flexor action, which will allow a little bit more of the bow from the top half since my quads aren't very dominant in comparison to my upper body. All right, like I said, it was hamstring and glutes, but gotta throw those calves in there. One of the weaker parts of my leg, so I'm definitely gonna look to incorporate those just about every day, doing a couple different movements. Here you see I'm getting a big stretch and then focus on the contraction by bending my knee and keeping all that weight back. And then I also supersetted this here with the goblet squat and a variation of a straight leg deadlift, not quite straight leg because of the foot positioning on the goblet squat, which I have my toes turned out, and just getting hamstring and glute activation here. All right, and I love finishing my leg day with box jumps. Here you see I'm doing a lower jump for myself personally, but doing a progression where I'm working backwards and getting a little bit more distance on the jump and not so focused on the height here, especially because at this point my legs are, like I've said before, fried, and I'm really just looking to get as much activation out of them to finish off this workout. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate the support. If you guys could like and share this with somebody, if you found that you got some tips from this, or if you know somebody that could utilize some of these tips, please share. I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.